In the shadow of the ancient ziggurats of Uruk, where the sky merges with clay towers, a legend is born that will endure for millennia. This is the story not merely of a king, but of humanity's first hero, one who dared to defy the gods themselves in pursuit of the impossible. Gilgamesh, whose name will resonate through the ages, becomes a symbol of the eternal struggle between mortal desire and divine destiny. Mesopotamia, in the 5th millennium BCE, breathes magic and myth. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers carry their waters through lands where every stone holds the memory of the earliest civilizations. Here, between these rivers of life, city-states rise, each claiming divine patronage. Uruk, the jewel of this world, is a city whose walls soar to the heavens, a bold challenge to eternity itself. In the royal palace, adorned with frescoes of gods and monsters, a child is born, his fate etched in the stars before his first breath. Gilgamesh, son of a mortal king and the goddess Ninsun, carries both earthly and heavenly blood. The strength of Titans courses through his veins, yet his heart beats with the rhythm of a human soul. This duality will prove both his greatest gift and his curse. The future hero's childhood unfolds in luxury and seclusion. Palace sages prophesy a glory that will outshine the sun, yet they caution of the steep price greatness demands. Gilgamesh grows, sensing within himself the power to shift mountains, but he does not yet comprehend that true strength lies not in physical might, but in the capacity to love and forgive. When the young man comes of age, the crown of Uruk graces his head. His people welcome their new king with a mix of hope and fear. Gilgamesh rules with an iron fist. His justice is unrelenting, his wrath overwhelming. He erects grand structures and leads triumphant wars, yet deep within he feels an emptiness that neither gold nor power can fill. Chapter 1. The Beginning Meeting. Enkidu. Years of rule transform Gilgamesh into a tyrant whose might knows no limits. Young warriors quake before his strength, maidens shrink from his ardent gazes, and elders mutter curses behind his back. Uruk thrives under the reign of this demigod king, but its people suffer beneath his boundless pride. Each day brings fresh trials for his subjects, forced to bear the caprices of their divine ruler. The people's lament ascends to the heavens, reaching the halls of the gods. Anu, Lord of the sky, hears the cries of the afflicted and resolves to alter the course of history. If Gilgamesh has no peer, if his power meets no worthy rival, then the gods will fashion one to temper the king's wild nature. Thus, the plan to create Enkidu takes shape, a wild man whose strength will match Gilgamesh's own. The goddess Aruru molds a being from clay, infusing it with the raw power of the earth. Enkidu is born not in royal chambers, but in the vast steppes where wolves become his brothers and gazelles his companions. He knows no tongue of civilization, speaking instead the language of wind and rain. His body is cloaked in thick hair, muscles ripple beneath his skin, and his eyes blaze with the untamed fire of freedom. For years, Enkidu dwells among the beasts, shielding them from hunters and dismantling traps, becoming a legend of the steppes. Shepherds swap tales of the wild man who can hoist a bull with one hand and outpace antelopes. Whispers of this creature reach Uruk, where they are brushed off as fanciful yarns spun by the common folk. But one hunter dares to trek into the steppes to see this marvel for himself. What he discovers surpasses all he imagined. Enkidu stands before him as the embodiment of primal might, a living bridge between the realms of man and beast. The hunter realizes he gazes upon a being capable of reshaping the destiny of an entire city. Chapter 2. Taming Enkidu. The hunter's return to Uruk throws the royal court into disarray. Accounts of the wild man seem too fantastical to believe, yet something in the storyteller's eyes hints at truth. Gilgamesh listens with mounting intrigue. For the first time in years, curiosity stirs in his heart for a being who might prove a formidable foe. The wisest counselors devise a plan to civilize the savage. If Enkidu lives among animals, he is ignorant of human pleasures and frailties. Shamhat, a beautiful temple priestess, is tasked with traveling to the steppes to seduce the wild man, ushering him into the world of civilization through the doorway of physical desire. The journey to Enkidu's domain becomes a true odyssey. Shamhat, accustomed to the opulence of temples, must adapt to the rugged wilderness. Yet her determination stands firm. She grasps the mission's significance for Uruk's future. Days stretch into weeks, then months of relentless pursuit. At last, by a watering hole in the heart of the steppes, the encounter that will change the world unfolds. Enkidu, arriving to drink alongside his animal kin, freezes at the sight of the woman. Never has he beheld a being like Shamhat. Her beauty awakens in him emotions he never knew he possessed. For 7 days and 7 nights, Enkidu discovers love and passion in the priestess's embrace. This time serves as a bridge from his beastly past to a human future. When he finally seeks to rejoin his pack, the animals spurn him. The scent of civilization now clings to Enkidu, alarming his former companions. Gazelles bolt at his approach, lions snarl menacingly, wolves bare their fangs. Shamhat watches Enkidu's torment with an aching heart, knowing she has stripped him of the only home he ever knew. The way back is sealed forever. One path remains, forward into the human world, where his divinely ordained fate awaits. Chapter 3. The First Battle of the Heroes. The road to Uruk becomes Enkidu's initiation into the mysteries of human society. Shamhat patiently teaches him language, customs, and the rules of civilized behavior. The wild man absorbs knowledge with astonishing speed, as if his mind had been poised to fully awaken. Yet unease festers within him, a premonition of the momentous clash that will define his path. Word of the approaching stranger reaches Uruk before he arrives. Crowds gather in the streets to catch a glimpse of the one deemed equal to their king. Enkidu strides into the city like a conqueror, armed not with weapons or soldiers, but with an inner power that radiates from his every step. Gilgamesh learns of his rival's arrival as he prepares for another act of tyranny, claiming the right of the first night with a young bride whose wedding is set for dawn. But on his way to the girl's home, an unexpected barrier looms, the towering figure of Enkidu, blocking his path. For the first time, Gilgamesh faces someone bold enough to defy him. Enkidu stands steadfast as stone, his eyes alight with resolve to shield the innocent girl from the king's whims. The tension between the two titans is palpable, the air quivering with pent-up force on the brink of eruption. The battle ignites without words, a collision of primal forces. Gilgamesh and Enkidu lock in a struggle that rattles the city's foundations. Their fight transcends mere physicality. It is a clash of natures, civilized brutality versus wild justice. Houses shudder under their blows, the earth splits beneath their feet, and the sky itself seems to draw near, awed by the ferocity of their duel. The contest rages for hours, a spectacle unseen since the world's creation. Both warriors exhibit superhuman strength and stamina. Gilgamesh wields techniques refined through years of palace training, while Enkidu counters with instinctive moves born of his untamed roots. Slowly, they come to see each other as worthy adversaries. As the sun climbs to its peak, the exhausted heroes collapse to their knees in unison. Rage fades from their eyes, replaced by mutual respect, then something deeper. They realize the gods crafted them for one another, their fates eternally entwined by threads of destiny. Chapter 4. The Birth of Friendship. From the dust of humbled pride, two heroes rise, not as enemies, but as brothers in spirit. Enkidu offers Gilgamesh a hand, lifting him up, and in this act, a friendship is born that will echo through legend. For the first time, the king of Uruk feels he has met his match, a soul who can fathom the depths of his solitude and the vigor of his ambitions. The people of Uruk watch this scene with wonder and relief. The tyrant they once dreaded and despised transforms before their eyes. In Enkidu's presence, Gilgamesh's harshness softens, his arrogance giving way to nobility. It's as if the wild man carried from the steppes not just strength, but a natural wisdom capable of taming the fiercest impulses. Days melt into weeks of peaceful companionship between the two. Gilgamesh reveals to Enkidu the marvels of civilization: stately temples, gardens brimming with exotic flora, libraries of cuneiform tablets safeguarding centuries of wisdom. In return, Enkidu unveils the splendor of the simple, the sun rising over the steppes, birdsong at dawn, the winds murmur through tree-tops, yet a restlessness brews in Gilgamesh's heart. A tranquil life, however lovely, cannot long sate a spirit forged for greatness. His demigod blood yearns for feats worthy of heroes. He craves adventures that will etch their names in glory and prove to the gods that mortals can rival divine deeds. Enkidu, sensing his friend's agitation, at first seeks to quell his warlike fervor. He recalls the harmony of life among the beasts, where each day held its own joys without the need for battle-won fame. But soon the lure of valor stirs in him too. Civilization has sparked an ambition in the wild man unknown to his former self. The resolve strikes like a bolt from above. Gilgamesh recalls ancient tales of Humbaba, the monstrous guardian of the sacred cedar forest. This colossal being strikes terror into all within days of travel. Its roar can slay a brave soul from afar. Its breath reduces mighty trees to ash. Victory over such a foe would bring renown fit for demigods. Enkidu hears his friend's scheme with rising fervor. Memories of animal stories about the fearsome forest, where no creature dares venture, flood back. The challenge is embraced. They will tread where even the gods have not dared. Chapter 5. Preparation for the expedition. The news of the king's plan to march against Humbaba plunges Uruk into turmoil. Advisors implore Gilgamesh to abandon this reckless venture, citing his duties to the people. Priests offer sacrifices, beseeching the gods to steer their ruler from a course that could spell doom. But the hero's heart is set, unshaken by any plea. Gilgamesh's mother, the goddess Ninsun, calls her son to her temple for a final exchange before he departs. Her divine heart aches with foreboding, yet she knows a hero's fate cannot be swayed by a mother's tears. Ninsun blesses her son and his companion, giving them protective amulets and invoking the favor of other gods for the trials ahead. Uruk's smiths toil day and night to forge weapons worthy of the heroes. For Gilgamesh, they craft a sword of celestial iron inscribed with runes of power. For Enkidu, an axe that can cleave stone. Shields are fashioned from bull hides reinforced with copper, and armor is adorned with symbols of their divine patrons. The people assemble in the square to bid their heroes farewell. Fear for the ruler's life mingles with hope that his exploit will bring everlasting glory to Uruk. Women weep, sensing calamity. Men clench their fists in silence, wishing their strength to the bold travelers. Children stare wide-eyed at the heroes who seem to them like gods made flesh. The route to the cedar forest winds through deserts and mountains, lands untouched by human feet. Gilgamesh and Enkidu stride side by side, their bond deepening with each passing day. They share reflections on the past and visions of the future, unaware that this journey will mark a turning point in their lives. Desert nights bring strange dreams. Gilgamesh sees flames and ruin, unable to tell if they herald triumph or defeat. Enkidu is haunted by visions of beasts shunning him and gods marking his name among the damned, yet with morning light, these dark omens scatter like smoke from a fire. Chapter 6. In the Cedar Forest. The edge of the cedar forest emerges before the travelers like a vision from another realm. Trees tower to dizzying heights, their trunks so thick that 10 men could not encircle them. The air is dense and still, laced with the scent of resin and an ancient dread that seeps into every leaf and branch. The forest's silence is absolute, as if time itself pauses at the threshold of this hallowed ground. Their first steps on the forest floor echo unnaturally. The sound of their footfall swells and warps into a chilling chorus of voices. Enkidu, once at one with nature, feels like an outsider here. The forest spurns him. Each tree seems to watch the intruders, poised to serve as an instrument of retribution. Mile after mile, they press into the thicket, where sunlight barely pierces the heavy canopy. The air grows oppressive, breathing becomes a struggle, each inhale tasting of liquid fear. Gilgamesh feels his divine blood quicken in response to the ancient magic thrumming through the roots of the giant cedars. Signs of Humbaba appear abruptly, massive footprints pressed into the earth with such force they form small ponds. Each imprint stretches as long as a man is tall, as deep as a man's knee. Nearby, lie broken stones crushed like nutshells by the monster and tree trunks uprooted and cast aside with careless might. Enkidu senses the forest's master first. His animal instincts, dulled by civilization yet still alive, detect the earth trembling beneath the giant's strides. The air shivers with a low growl that seems to rise not from the creature's throat, but from the depths of the ground. Birds, silent until now, erupt into a black cloud, fleeing the nearing threat. Humbaba steps forth between the trees, a nightmare given form. Taller than the loftiest cedars, his body gleams with obsidian scales, his eyes burn with a fire reflecting millennia of rage. His face is a grotesque mockery of humanity, bloated to monstrous proportions and steeped in malice older than the gods themselves. Humbaba's roar shakes the forest to its roots. Ancient cedars sway like reeds in a gale, their roots groaning to hold fast. The sound is more than loud. It brims with a magic that could stop a mortal heart and chill the blood in its veins. Yet the heroes stand unyielding, their determination unshattered even before this living terror. Chapter 7. The Battle with Humbaba. The battle opens with Humbaba unleashing his lethal breath. A jet of flame bursts from the monster's maw, fierce enough to melt iron and turn stone to dust. Gilgamesh and Enkidu dodge by a hair, the air around them blazing like a forge. Grass beneath their feet flares and crumbles to ash, while nearby tree trunks blacken and smolder. Humbaba's first strike lands where Enkidu stood moments before. His fist, the size of a cart, burrows deep into the earth, coaxing groundwater from the fissures. The blow's force sends a shock wave that knocks the heroes sprawling, scrambling to regain their footing. Enkidu recovers first, swinging his axe in retaliation. Celestial iron meets the scales of ancient evil, sparking like a shower of stars. The blade etches a scratch across Humbaba's hide, the first wound the beast has borne in centuries. Pain drives the giant into a towering fury, his roar growing louder and more venomous. Gilgamesh strikes from the side, aiming his sword at a tendon in the monster's leg. The celestial blade bites true, slicing flesh and making Humbaba stumble. Yet even injured, the creature remains a deadly menace. It seizes a whole tree and hurls it at the king of Uruk with such power that the cedar shatters into splinters against the rock where Gilgamesh barely takes cover. The fight stretches on for hours, turning the sacred forest into a war zone. Each blow from the heroes marks the monster's body, but Humbaba seems impervious to mortal arms. His wounds, knit shut with magic drawn from the ancient tree's roots, his rage swelling with every pang. The heroes realize brute strength alone cannot fell a creation of the gods. Enkidu grasps the key first. Humbaba is not merely a beast, he is the forest's spirit, its guardian, woven into its essence. To defeat him, they must sever his bond to this power. He shares this revelation with Gilgamesh, who sees they must fight as one, not as two. Uniting their strengths, the heroes shift their strategy. Enkidu draws Humbaba's focus, striking at arms and legs, while Gilgamesh maneuvers to where the roots of the largest cedar meld with the monster's form. Here, at the nexus of earthly and divine magic, the king of Uruk delivers the decisive blow. The sword of celestial iron severs the root artery feeding Humbaba, the earth's might. The monster's cry blends pain and shock. For the first time in ages, it knows mortality. The magical link snaps, ancient power drains from its body, and it collapses, its fall quaking the forest. Chapter 8. Victory and Consequences. The silence after Humbaba's fall is deafening, a stark contrast to the battle's clamor. The forest seems to hold its breath, stunned that its timeless guardian lies vanquished. Gilgamesh and ENKIDU stand over the fallen beast, their bodies scored with wounds, armor rent by claws and fangs of ancient malice. But their eyes shine with the fire of victory. They have achieved what even the gods deemed impossible. Triumph courses through them, headier than any wine. They embrace, laughing like children, unwrapping a coveted gift. ENKIDU dances around Humbaba's corpse, praising the gods for their win. Gilgamesh lifts his blood-streaked sword skyward, his voice ringing through the trees, proclaiming the might of mortals who dared defy heavenly creations. But the celebration is brief. A shadow sweeps down from above, and Enlil, god of storms and master of winds, appears before them. His face twists with fury, his eyes flash with lightning. Humbaba was no mere monster. He was a sentinel placed by the gods to guard the sacred forest. By slaying him, the heroes have flouted divine will and invited celestial wrath. Enlil's words crash down like hammer strikes on an anvil. The gods will not let such insolence go unpunished. One hero must die to restore the balance between the mortal realm and divine order. The gods themselves will choose, their verdict final and absolute. Enlil vanishes as abruptly as he came, leaving the heroes with a grim prophecy. The thrill of victory evaporates like smoke in the breeze. Gilgamesh and ENKIDU exchange a look, knowing their friendship may soon be sundered by divine decree. Each would lay down his life for the other, but that choice is beyond their grasp. The trek back to Uruk passes in heavy silence. They carry the spoils of victory, Humbaba's head and sacred cedars, but these tokens now feel tainted. Each step brings them nearer to a city that will hail them as champions, ignorant of the toll yet to be paid for their glory. Uruk greets them with jubilation. Crowds flood the streets to honor those who conquered the unconquerable. Bards weave songs of their feat, artisans sculpt statues in their likeness, and priests offer prayers of thanks to the gods. Yet in the heroes' hearts, joy is absent. They know this revelry could soon turn to mourning. Chapter 9. The Wrath of Ishtar. Amid the festivities following Humbaba's defeat, an unbidden guest arrives in Uruk. Ishtar, goddess of love and war, descends from the heavens in a golden chariot drawn by lions. Her beauty eclipses the sun, her presence coaxing blooms from barren soil. The people fall prostrate before her, but Ishtar seeks only one mortal, Gilgamesh. The goddess offers the king of Uruk her love, promising dominion over the world and immortality akin to the gods. Her words drip like honey, her pledges vast as the cosmos. But Gilgamesh, emboldened by his recent triumph and secure in his prowess, commits an act that will forever alter his fate. He spurns her offer. His rejection brims with audacity and scorn. He lists Ishtar's mortal lovers, recounting their tragic ends. Tammuz turned to a plant, Alalu maimed, the roller bird stripped of its wings. Gilgamesh vows he will not become another pawn in the hands of a fickle goddess, whose love destroys all it touches. Ishtar's rage knows no bounds. Accustomed to adoration and submission, she faces defiance for the first time in her divine existence. Her beauty warps with anger, her voice roars like a tempest. She swears to avenge this insolent mortal and make him rue his words. Rising to the heavens, Ishtar confronts her father Anu, demanding retribution. She calls for the bull of heaven to be unleashed upon the earth, a beast capable of leveling cities. Anu hesitates, aware that such a creature could wreak havoc not just on Uruk, but across all Mesopotamia. Yet his daughter's tears and entreaties ultimately sway him. The bull of heaven descends as a living emblem of divine fury. Its size dwarfs even Humbaba, its strength able to split mountains. Each step triggers quakes. Its breath parches rivers. Its approach to Uruk becomes a disaster of cosmic scale. The first to fall are shepherds on the city's outskirts. The monster doesn't merely kill. It erases every trace of their existence. Herds dissolve into dust, wells run dry, lush pastures turn to scorched wastes. Refugees stream to Uruk's walls, bearing tidings of the looming catastrophe. Gilgamesh sees that his pride has cursed his people. For the first time, the king feels the weight of accountability for his actions. Retreat is not an option. He must face this new peril head-on to shield his city from divine vengeance. Chapter 10. The Battle with the Bull of Heaven. The Bull of Heaven looms at Uruk's walls as the sun sets, painting the sky in hues of blood. Its mere presence cracks stone and warps bronze gates with searing heat. It towers beyond mortal imagining, horns brushing the clouds, hooves gouging craters the size of ponds. Its first stomp tears a rift in the earth, swallowing 100 city guards. The second shatters a stretch of wall. The third reaches the central square, scattering the panicked throng. Death strikes not with teeth or claws, but through the air itself, rendered lethal by the divine beast's aura. Gilgamesh and ENKIDU march out to confront the monster, knowing this is their final stand to save the city. Standard combat proves futile. The bull's hide deflects all weapons. Its breath turns air to molten lava. Its gaze can halt the stoutest heart. The heroes must lean not on might, but on cunning and their bond. ENKIDU plays the lure, dodging the monster's onslaught with animal nimbleness. His movements are a dance, perilous yet graceful in its desperation. Every leap and roll teeters on the edge of doom, yet the wild man seems back in his element, guided by instinct over reason. As ENKIDU holds the bull's attention, Gilgamesh hunts for a chink in its divine armor. His seasoned eyes scan the beast's form until he spots it, a point at the neck's base where streams of godly energy converge, sustaining Anu's creation. Gilgamesh's vault onto the bull's back is an act of both despair and supreme valor. The king of Uruk drives his sword into the vulnerable spot, celestial iron piercing divine flesh. The monster's bellow shakes earth and sky alike. The gods themselves feel their creation's agony. ENKIDU seizes the moment, his axe shearing the tendons of the bull's hind legs, toppling it. The celestial beast crashes down, its death throes lingering for agonizing minutes before silence falls. A second divine entity succumbs to mortal hands, but the victory exacts a dire cost. Enkidu, who bore the battle's brunt, suffers fatal wounds. The bull's divine blood, splattered on him, eats through his flesh like acid. He knows he is dying, yet his eyes hold no fear, only relief that Uruk is spared. Chapter 11. ENKIDU'S Illness and Death. For 12 days, Enkidu lingers on his deathbed, each one a torment for Gilgamesh. The king never leaves his friend's side, watching as divine poison ravages the body of the one closer than a brother. Uruk's finest healers are helpless against the god's curse. Their remedies and chants only delay the inevitable march of death. In fevered visions, Enkidu sees the angel of death, guiding him toward the underworld. He recounts his nightmares to Gilgamesh, a shadowed realm where souls feed on clay and sip murky water, a place devoid of sun, stars, or joy. These tales strike more terror into Gilgamesh than any monster ever could. Enkidu's speech grows erratic. He speaks to the dead beasts of his youth, calling out to gazelles and lions that will never answer again. At times, clarity returns, and he gazes at Gilgamesh with eyes brimming with sorrow, not for himself, but for the friend left alone in a world without peers in strength or honor. On the final night, Enkidu finds a fleeting lucidity. Clasping Gilgamesh's hand, he declares their friendship the god's greatest gift, worth even his life. He urges his friend not to seek vengeance against the heavens, but to find meaning beyond war and conquest. Yet Gilgamesh, consumed by fury and a thirst for retribution, cannot hear him. With dawn's first light, life slips from Enkidu's body. Gilgamesh feels it with every fiber of his being, as if a piece of his own soul is ripped away with his friend's spirit. His cry reverberates across Uruk, not merely a wail of grief, but the roar of a beast bereft of its sole companion in a harsh, cold world. For 7 days and nights, Gilgamesh clings to Enkidu's body, denying his death. He speaks to him as if he lives, brings food, shares plans for the future. Only when worms begin to crawl from the corpse does the king accept the loss. But acceptance breeds no peace. It fuels his resolve to defy death itself. Enkidu's funeral is a spectacle unmatched in Uruk's history. Gilgamesh commissions a tomb of gold and gems etched with scenes of their shared exploits. Beside the wild man's body, he places all that might serve in the afterlife: weapons, provisions, ornaments, even the cherished axe of celestial iron. Yet no splendor can mend the void in Gilgamesh's heart. For the first time, he truly grasps what death means, not a distant idea, but a force that can claim even heroes. If it took Enkidu, what will stop it from coming for him? This question becomes an obsession, haunting him day and night. Chapter 12. The Quest for Immortality. Enkidu's death marks a seismic shift in Gilgamesh's life. The king, who once saw himself as near divine, suddenly confronts his mortality. Each day brings reminders of the end: a gray hair in a polished bronze mirror, a wrinkle by his eye, an ache in his muscles after exertion. Time, once an endless expanse, now ticks down to his encounter with the same angel of death that claimed his friend. The pursuit of immortality seizes Gilgamesh's mind wholly. He loses interest in governing, abandons training, shuns court rituals. He spends his days poring over ancient texts in the library, seeking tales of those who evaded death. At last, he uncovers what he seeks, the legend of UTTNAPISHTIM, the only mortal granted eternal life by the gods. UTTNAPISHTIM's story is inscribed on tablets older than Uruk itself. Warned by the god Ea of a flood meant to erase humanity, he built an ark, saving his family and every kind of animal. For this deed, the gods bestowed immortality on him and his wife, settling them at the world's edge, beyond seas and deserts, where no ordinary mortal has trod. The decision is instant. Gilgamesh will seek UTTNAPISHTIM and wrest from him the secret of eternal life, whatever the cost. This quest will outstrip all prior feats in peril, leading through lands ruled by laws unknown to man. Yet there is no other way, immortality or death in its pursuit. Preparations span weeks. Gilgamesh gathers supplies, studies maps, quizzes merchants about far-off realms. Uruk's people watch their king's efforts with rising unease. ENKIDU'S death has remade their ruler, from a haughty tyrant into a man possessed by a singular fixation, a change that unnerves them more than his old cruelty. The journey to the world's edge begins alone. For the first time in years, Gilgamesh sets out without companions, army, or servants, just him, his weapons, and an ironclad will to succeed at any price. Each step pulls him from the human world into a domain of myth and legend, where nature's familiar laws unravel. The early weeks traverse known lands, deserts and oases of his youth, but the landscape soon turns strange and hostile. Sands shimmer in odd hues, stars form unfamiliar patterns, and the wind carries scents alien to the mortal realm. Chapter 13. Journey Through Darkness. Months of travel lead Gilgamesh to mountains uncharted on any map. Their peaks pierce the sky as if reaching for the stars, their slopes veiled in mist no wind can lift. At their base stand two guardians, scorpion men, half human, half giant scorpion. Spotting the traveler, they raise gleaming pincers laced with the venom of ancient deserts. Their eyes, devoid of warmth, weigh the one bold enough to breach these forbidden borders. No mortal has passed this barrier. All who tried were crushed by those mighty claws or doomed to eternal anguish in the mountain gorges. Despite the fear gnawing at his heart, Gilgamesh steps forward with proud bearing. His voice is steady as he declares his intent to cross and reach the world's edge. The scorpion men stand silent for long moments, their pincers easing down, suggesting the trial is met. Then their leader speaks, his words chilling the blood. The mountain path opens only to those who pay the price of knowledge. The cave's darkness is no mere absence of light. It is a living force that feeds on travelers' fears and doubts. 12 hours of endless night await the hero in the earth's depths, where every step could be his last, each breath edging him toward madness. Gilgamesh accepts without pause. He must enter the black caves, where time loses meaning and space twists beyond recognition. The icy walls glow with eerie runes, recounting the fates of those who faltered in this test. Deep within the mountain, Gilgamesh faces visions of his past, phantoms of slain enemies, shades of subjugated peoples, and faces of those hurt by his pride rise before him. Most agonizing is Enkidu's image, rebuking him for chasing immortality out of dread, not love of life. Each hour in the dark saps his strength more than years of war. Yet the memory of his quest's purpose keeps him whole. Somewhere at the world's end, UTTNAPISHTIM holds his secret, a thought that blazes in Gilgamesh's heart like a torch, lighting the way through the mountain's abyss. At last, after what feels like eternity, a faint gleam appears. The cave's exit opens to a valley unmapped by mortals. Trees of gemstones grow here, their leaves chiming with melodies older than speech. Star-like fruits gleam, but to touch them is death for any human. A river, blacker than midnight, cuts through the valley, the river of death, dividing the living from the shadowed realm. On its bank stands Uruk, the ferryman, his boat the sole means across the grim waters. His hooded face hides his features, his hands gripping the oar seem forged of death itself. Uruk studies Gilgamesh long, as if peering into his soul's every sin and virtue. At length, he consents to ferry the hero, warning there will be no return if he fails to find his goal. The boat glides from shore, and Gilgamesh feels the final ties to the living world strained to breaking. Chapter 14. Meeting UTTNAPISHTIM. The crossing of the river of death spans both an eternity and a heartbeat. Uruk's oar slices waters that mirror neither starlight nor the traveler's face. Shadows of those who crossed without leave flicker below, their souls trapped forever as a caution to the daring. Gilgamesh clutches his sword's hilt, knowing only unyielding will holds power here. The far shore reveals a landscape impossible in the mortal world. Gardens bloom where each plant is frozen music, each flower a crystallized dream. The air thickens with eternity's scent, dulling the mind and tempting forgetfulness. But Gilgamesh presses on, chanting ENKIDU'S name like a ward against oblivion. UTTNAPISHTIM's palace rises on a hill, its walls wrought from a substance older than stars. Not stone or metal, but a blend of light and shadow, reality and dream. Each brick bears the memory of the flood that drowned the old world. Each tower stretches skyward as a truce with the gods. UTTNAPISHTIM greets his guest at the threshold. The survivor of humanity's ruin appears an ordinary elder, but his eyes hold the wisdom of eons, reflecting every calamity and joy of countless ages. He knows Gilgamesh's purpose before a word is spoken. UTTNAPISHTIM's words strike Gilgamesh's soul like rain on scorched earth. Immortality, he says, is no boon but a burden. He has watched civilizations rise and crumble, the earth and sky reshape. Memory turns to torment over millennia, loneliness the sole companion of one who outlives all he loves. Gilgamesh heeds no caution. The thirst for eternal life burns fiercer than any flame. He begs UTTNAPISHTIM to share the secret, vowing any sacrifice, any ordeal. His voice quavers with desperation, the great hero bearing weakness for the first time. UTTNAPISHTIM studies him in silence, then agrees to reveal the secret after one final test. If Gilgamesh seeks eternal life, he must first conquer sleep. For 7 days and nights he must stay awake, eyes never closing. The task seems trivial after his trials, but Gilgamesh overlooks the exhaustion of months on the road. Sitting by the palace walls, his eyelids droop. Sleep steals in gently, a friend offering respite. He drifts off, unaware as dreams overtake reality. When he wakes, the sun rides high. Beside him lie 7 loaves baked by UTTNAPISHTIM's wife, one for each day of his slumber, proof of time lost. The first is hard as stone, the last still warm from the oven. 7 days passed in a blink. The test is failed. Chapter 15. The Plant of Immortality. UTTNAPISHTIM gazes at the roused hero with a mix of pity and sorrow. He feels Gilgamesh's anguish, but cannot bend the god's laws. One who cannot master sleep is unfit for eternal life, so the heavens decree, and even an immortal cannot defy them. Gilgamesh sinks to his knees, pride shattered at last. Every trial, every sacrifice has been for naught. The road home looms empty. What awaits in Uruk but slow decay and that inevitable meeting with ENKIDU'S angel of death? Tears he withheld even at his friend's side now spill, washing away the remnants of his former grandeur. Yet UTTNAPISHTIM's heart harbors mercy. Moved by the hero's raw grief, he shares a secret hidden even from the gods. In the ocean's deepest trench grows a wondrous plant. Its thorns pierce to the bone, its sap burns like molten steel. But its fruit grants not immortality, but near enough the return of youth. Called the old man becomes young, this plant can stretch a life across centuries. Each time age creeps in, its fruit restores vigor and beauty. It is not true eternal life, but a long, arduous path to it, ripe with chances for new deeds and discoveries. Gilgamesh drinks in these words like a parched man here in a spring. Hope, thought lost, flares anew. He will plunge to any depth, endure any pain, for this shot at defying death. The fight is far from over. It has just begun. The trek to the ocean crosses lands that saw the world's birth. Every stone recalls when gods first learned to create. Every drop holds the memory of the primal rain. Gilgamesh walks the shore of a sea with no far side, its waves crashing with mountain-shattering force. Diving into the ocean's depths is the final hurdle. Gilgamesh ties stones to his feet and sinks into waters growing darker and colder with each yard. Pressure grips him like a titan's fist, cold seeping into his bones, threatening to still his heart before he reaches bottom. In depths untouched by sunlight, he finds his prize. The plant glows with a spectral light, roots burrowing into the earth's core, branches swaying like a siren's locks in the currents. He reaches for it, thorns tearing his skin, blood clouding the water. The pain eclipses all he's known in battle. Each thorn bears centuries of agony, each drop of sap sears like hellfire, but he clings to his treasure, too hard-won to relinquish now. At last, the plant is torn free. Gilgamesh breaks the surface, clutching the key to his future. The first breath tastes sweeter than wine, the stars more radiant than any hoard. His goal is won, his dream nearly realized. All that remains is to return home and taste the fruit that will rewrite his fate. Chapter 16. Loss and Enlightenment. The journey back to Uruk begins with elation and hope. Gilgamesh cradles the precious plant like a cherished child, guarding it from harm. Each step nears him to victory over death, to a reunion with Enkidu in a world free of decay and loss. The stars shine brighter, the air feels crisper, the earth itself seems to pulse beneath the feet of a soon-to-be immortal. Days turn to weeks, weeks to months. Through deserts and oases, mountains and valleys, he presses on, tireless, driven by the vision of transformation. He pictures himself forever young, boundless in deeds, worthy of godhood not just in might, but in lifespan. At an oasis where palms arch over a clear spring, Gilgamesh pauses to refresh after a grueling march through blazing sands. He sets the plant carefully on the bank, away from the water, and wades into the cool embrace. It washes away road dust and fatigue, but not the thrill of impending triumph. As he bathes, a snake glides to the spring, old and wise, its eyes glinting with the earth's secrets. It catches the plant's scent, an aroma stirring in its cold blood memories of when serpents advised gods and kept hidden lore. Without hesitation, the snake snatches the plant and swallows it whole, leaving Gilgamesh nothing. Its magic works instantly. Aged, cracked skin sloughs off, revealing a youthful, gleaming hide brimming with life. Shedding its old skin as a badge of rebirth, it slips into the brush, taking the prize Gilgamesh earned through years of toil. Gilgamesh emerges to find the plant gone, only the shed skin remaining, a cruel proof his dream was real. A cry of despair tears from him, startling birds from the palms, its echo a dirge across the desert for humanity's dashed hopes. He sits long by the spring, staring at the skin, grappling with the loss. All the trials, the pain, for what? The plant meant to grant him immortality now benefits a mere snake, oblivious to its worth. Fate mocks him, exposing the fragility of grand designs. But in the oasis's stillness, understanding dawns. His journey was not fruitless, despite the unachieved end. He glimpsed the world's fringes, uncovered truths veiled from most, met immortals, and endured trials that forged his spirit. Perhaps true immortality lies not in bodily endurance, but in what lingers after death, in actions, memory, the mark one leaves on the world. Thoughts of Enkidu surge back, now tinged with more than grief. Gilgamesh sees his friends' immortality in their bond, their shared feats, the songs bards will sing. Death of the flesh is not erasure. Great deeds outlast centuries, and love bridges the realms of life and death. With this insight, Gilgamesh rises and resumes his path home. He walks not as a broken man, but as a hero, enriched by wisdom. Each step draws him closer to Uruk, to his people, to a life of purpose and duty, no longer a power-hungry tyrant or a frantic seeker of eternal life. He is a sage ruler who has learned the true worth of human existence. Chapter 17. Return and Wisdom. Uruk's walls rise on the horizon like a memory from another life. Gilgamesh beholds his city with reborn eyes. The same towers and palaces, streets and squares, yet he sees them not as emblems of dominion, but as works of human hands, proof that mortals can craft the eternal, even if fated to fade. His people greet his return with astonishment and joy. The years of his absence bred uncertainty and dread. No one knew if their king lived or would ever come back. But the man who steps through the gates bears little likeness to the tyrant who left. Wrinkles line Gilgamesh's face, gray streaks his hair, yet his eyes glow with a wisdom absent before. His first act is to visit ENKIDU'S tomb. The gold and jewels have dulled in his absence, but his friend's memory burns brighter than any treasure in his heart. He speaks to the mute stone of all he endured, the meeting with UTTNAPISHTIM, the plant of immortality, the revelation in the oasis. These words to his departed friend are both confession and oath. Gilgamesh pledges to ENKIDU that his remaining years will not chase personal eternity, but build a legacy to outlive ages. He will be a just ruler, a wise arbiter, a shield for the weak. His deeds will forge the immortality mortals can claim. Gilgamesh's reign post-return starkly contrasts his past tyranny. Days are spent hearing his subjects' pleas, resolving disputes, planning new temples and schools. Evenings he devotes to wisdom, reading ancient texts, debating with priests and scholars, inscribing his thoughts on clay tablets. He pours special care into the young. He found schools for noble and common children alike, teaching not just writing and numbers, but justice, bravery, and friendship. Often he visits them himself, sharing tales of his exploits and the lesson that true greatness stems not from martial might, but from strength of spirit. Uruk's walls, long his pride, now embody his philosophy. He orders them carved not only with victory chronicles, but with wise sayings, laws of equity, hymns to friendship and love. Each stone becomes a page in a book for generations to come. Years pass, Gilgamesh ages, yet his renown swells. Bards sing of him not just as a warrior, but as a sage who turned pain into wisdom. His tale inspires other kings, his laws underpinning governance across Mesopotamian cities. When his hair turns fully gray and his back bends with age, he faces nearing death without fear. He knows he has lived well, atoning for youthful errors with mature insight. This is the immortality he sought, not flesh prolonged, but a spirit enduring in descendants' memory. In his twilight years, Gilgamesh often stands atop the city walls, staring at the stars, reflecting on his journey. Beside him rises ENKIDU'S statue, placed at the highest point by his command. Even in stone, his friend seems ever near, sharing the quiet of dusk and the wisdom of their shared years. Chapter 18. Finale and Legacy. Gilgamesh's final days unfold in the calm of his royal chambers, where Uruk's wisest gather to record their great king's testament. His voice, softer now, pierces listeners' hearts deeper than any decree. He speaks of life's beauty in its brevity, how death lends meaning to every moment. He hands the crown to his heir, not as a badge of power, but as a mantle of responsibility. He charges the young king to remember that a ruler serves his people, that strength is for protection, not oppression. Every law must uphold justice, every choice benefit the folk, every day of rule build a brighter tomorrow. When death's hour arrives, Gilgamesh meets it with serenity, free of fear or regret. He knows his life was worthy, his youthful missteps redeemed by seasoned wisdom. By his bedside rests a clay tablet etched with his and Enkidu's friendship, the opening of an epic to echo through generations. Uruk mourns its king with heartfelt depth. This is no rote sorrow of subjects for a lost lord, but the true grief of a people bereft of a father and guardian. 7 days and nights of mourning fill with bard songs of his deeds and priests' prayers for his soul's peace. His burial is a marvel unrivaled in the ancient world. His body lies in a black granite sarcophagus, adorned with his greatest feats, the clash with Humbaba, the bull of heaven, the quest to the world's edge. Beside it stands ENKIDU'S statue, uniting the friends in death as in life. Gilgamesh's tomb becomes a pilgrimage site across Mesopotamia. Rulers seek statecraft wisdom, warriors his courage, common folk his justice. Its walls bear not just his acts, but his musings on life, death, friendship, and love. Centuries roll by, empires rise and fall, yet Gilgamesh's story endures. Bards of many nations sing of him, weaving new threads into the tale, but keeping its core, a man who challenged gods and found wisdom in accepting mortal fate. His epic lives on in tablets, papyri, parchments, then books. Millennia later, as Uruk crumbles to ruins and its kings' names fade, Gilgamesh's tale still stirs hearts. It mirrors timeless human yearnings for glory, friendship's might, death's dread, the quest for purpose. Each era finds its own truth in the ancient saga. Modern archaeologists, unearthing ancient cities, uncover Epic of Gilgamesh tablets, recognizing not just literature, but a reflection of the human soul. In Uruk's king shine all human contradictions, pride and humility, cruelty and mercy, selfishness and sacrifice. Thus, Gilgamesh gained the immortality he chased, not through an ocean plant or divine favor, but in the hearts and minds of those who will read his story while humanity endures. His name stands as a beacon of the endless reach for perfection. His fate a reminder that true greatness lies not in life's length, but in the depth of one's imprint on the world.